Hello, everyone. It's Brian. Hope you had a good weekend and a good record store day. I have seen some record store day videos. I actually didn't go to a record store on record store day, but I did go on Sunday. There wasn't too much I wanted, but I went to this newish place that opened near me, and as I walked in, I saw a copy of the Pogues record that I was interested in, but the guy that walked in before me took that one, and that was the only copy they had, so I came away empty-handed. I've actually only been to a record store on record store day once. I have bought things usually after the fact, so I'm not one of those people who will stand in line and get up early. I like sleeping more. But this is part 7 of the ranking of all Smiths tracks from 73 all the way to number 1. Thank you for enduring this. And I will say before I do this that, I had a really difficult time ranking these. And I would say even the top 25 or 30 was so difficult. There's so many songs that are so good, and it was tough because not much separates them. So it's kind of like a gut feeling you have at the time. So at number 16, I have chosen The Boy with a Thorn in His Side, which was the first single from The Queen is Dead that was released in 1986. At one point, I read Morrissey saying that this was his favorite Smiths track, but it's hard to say because I've heard similar things about other tracks, or that this is a favorite. I really like Johnny Marr's guitar work here. It was covered by Jeff Buckley, as I recall, in Belle and Sebastian. So I think the guitar work here is really good. So inevitably, the question is like, who is the boy with a thorn in his side? And some would say the boy is actually the Smiths, and the thorn is the record company, or perhaps radio. It sort of is the complaint we've heard before from Morrissey, especially that they weren't getting promoted properly or any respect, and radio wouldn't play them, or they weren't taken seriously. So the opening lines are the boy with a thorn in his side. Behind the hatred there lies a murderous desire for love. So that might reflect that statement, or maybe that's just something else entirely. But how can they hear me say these words and still they don't believe me? It goes on about a plundering desire for love, that they don't believe us. So it's an interesting track. I really like the melody of this one, and I think it's really good. Some people would place it higher, perhaps, and yeah, that's fine. Number 16, I chose a track called Panic, which is from this 12-inch single. I have some different versions here. Interestingly, this is the B-sides on the Canadian version are a bit different to the B-sides on the German version, which is funny. Panic is an interesting track. It came out after The Queen is Dead. It's the first track on The World Won't Listen. And it seems to be, again, a complaint about radio, because the story goes that Johnny Marr and Morrissey had been listening to the radio, and the news came on about Chernobyl. I actually remember where I was when I heard the news. There's a different story, but anyway. And then right after the news clip about what had happened, the DJ went on to play a track by Wham, which sounded to Morrissey and Marr a little bit crass, or kind of a crazy thing to do. By the way, this is the first Smiths track to feature Craig Gannon. You'll see he's listed there as a second guitarist. He was brought in to replace Andy Rourke, who had developed a heroin habit, but later they rehired Andy and they kept Craig around for the last few things they did. So the refrain in this track is hang the DJ, hang the DJ, hang the DJ, burn down the disco, hang the blessed DJ. And it starts with, there's panic on the streets of London, there's panic on the streets of Birmingham. I wonder to myself, could life ever be sane again? And he talks about, specifically about radio, because the music, hang the blessed DJ, because the music they constantly play, it says nothing to me about my life. Hang the blessed DJ. And then at the end, there's this, he sings hang the DJ maybe 24 times. So I think I related to this track, because for me, commercial radio wasn't doing it for me, and I was listening to these weird alternative stations and kind of being angry at commercial radio. So Panic at 15. At number 14, Heaven Knows I'm Miserable Now. Now, the cover of this feature, I haven't really said who's on any of these covers, but this is Viv Nicholson, who in the 1960s won something like 150 or 152,000 pounds, but squandered it all on cars and clothes and everything. Someone calculated that would be around $5 million today. So it is kind of bizarre. She's wasted all this money. There's the flip side. She wrote an autobiography too, maybe to recoup her losses. But the song itself is pretty funny. The lyrics are great. It starts out, he sings, I was happy in the haze of a drunken hour, but heaven knows I'm miserable now. So the idea that, he's happy when he had something to drink, but when he comes out of that, he realizes, oh, nothing's changed. I'm miserable. I was looking for a job, and then I found a job, and heaven knows I'm miserable now. That's so funny because in an earlier song, he sang about, I never had a job because I never wanted one. So... And then he goes on these statements about why do I give valuable time to people I'd rather kick in the eye, that kind of thing. And he reflects on the fact that two lovers are passing him by and he's miserable. Why does he care about people who don't care if he lives or dies? And so it's a great song, and the lyrics just are so Morrissey, but so great. So yeah, I'm sure she was miserable after she realized she spent all of her money. 13. Big Mouth Strikes Again, which was the second single from The Queen is Dead. Could this be a humorous attack on the media? Some people say so because I think there was a time when Morrissey said that if he somehow managed to rescue a kitten or save a kitten's life, the media would print a headline that said Morrissey mauls kitten or something like that. So that's pretty funny. It could also be, some people say, disaffection with the music industry. But the funny thing is he compares himself to a martyr, the martyr Joan of Arc in this song, which I think is really interesting. So it leads off with a lot of violence. Like, I was only joking when I said I'd like to smash every tooth in your head, and I was only joking when I said by rights you should be bludgeoned in your bed. So he was only joking about that. But he says he knows how Joan of Arc felt as the flames rose to her Roman nose and her Walkman started to melt. Later he sings in the track, her hearing aid started to melt. In concert later he would sing as her iPods started to melt. But he goes on about Big Mouth. I've got no right to take my place with the human race. So it's a really funny, when I heard it the first time, I thought, wow, this is so funny. This is a great song. Like Joan of Arc and her hearing aid starting to melt. It's really hilarious. And the sort of threat of violence at the beginning, which is just a joke, is quite funny. I think Placebo covered this track. Johnny Marr has said that the guitar was inspired by Jumpin' Jack Flash, the similar kind of effect of the riff that runs through the whole track. All right. Number 12. These Things Take Time, which appears in a number of places. Could be a track about insecurity, or maybe more specifically insecurity about sex. It could be about a relationship with an older person. Again, this turn of phrase is always very interesting. Like, you took me behind a disused railway line, said I know a place where we can go, where we are not known, and you gave me something that I won't forget too soon, which I think is great. But at the same time, he knows that the person will never care. And he says about himself, I know that I'm the most inept that ever slept, which is an interesting line. At one point he sings, and the hills are alive with celibate cries. So two things strike me there, like celibate, because he claims to be celibate even today. Secondly, maybe it's a coincidence, but the hills are alive with the sound of music, but instead the hills are alive with celibate cries. The person in the song says, you said I was ill and you were not wrong. And at the end he says, you will leave me behind. You will leave me behind. So, but he loves the alcoholic afternoons he spent in his room. They meant more to him than anything on earth. Okay, that was 12. And I should have said, that's a B-side. And it's amazing how many good Smiths tracks are on B-sides. So that is funny. Number 11, What Difference Does It Make? Which was the third single from the debut record. Now, again, I'll say something about the person on this cover. This is Terence Stamp, and he's holding a chloroform pad. But when Terence Stamp found out about this, he was upset about it. So they redid this sleeve with Morrissey on the cover holding a glass of milk. But then Terence Stamp changed his mind and thought, well, it wasn't so bad after all. So they may have reprinted later ones. But this is the original UK first pressing of What Difference Does It Make? It's the flip sides. Did I say? I think I might have said this. I'm not sure if this is. I think it was the third single. But I might have gotten that wrong. I'm not sure what number single or how many singles were from the first record. But in any case, So it seems to be about someone who's told a friend that he is gay. So the song starts off with all friends have secrets and here is mine, so let it be known. Then he says, you start to recoil, heavy words are so lightly thrown, but still I leap in front of a flying bullet for you. Then he talks about what difference does it make? What difference does it make? It makes none, but now you've gone, that kind of thing. Anyway, he talks about how, and your prejudice will keep you warm tonight, but now you know the truth about me and you won't see me anymore. So, but no more apologies. No more apologies. Anyway, it's a sad song in a way, because if that's really what it's about, it's kind of sad. But I really like that song. It made number 11. Number 10, top 10, I picked Still Ill, which I believe was the first single from this record. The 45 has a photo of a man from behind who is naked, which caused some controversy. So I just borrowed this quote from Wikipedia because I think it's really interesting. It says it's a deeply personal realization that his old dreams and freedoms were dead. That strikes me funny on two different levels, because he wasn't that old; he was still in his 20s. And freedoms, I mean, it seems funny to me. Also, as a reflection on his sexual orientation in the Thatcher era, which is kind of interesting. There's a line in the song which says, under the iron bridge we kissed and I ended up with sore lips. And that comes from Viv Nicholson's autobiography, who we just mentioned there. So that's interesting. But the track itself is again, when I first heard it, was so funny. I decreed a day that life is simply taking and not giving. England is mine and it owes me a living, which is a classic line. But we cannot cling to the old dreams anymore. And he sings this phrase that he's still ill. Does the mind rule the body, or does the mind rule the body? Sorry, does the body rule the mind, or does the mind rule the body? I don't know. And then, if you must go to work tomorrow, well, if I were you, I wouldn't bother. For there are brighter sides to life, and I should know because I've seen them, but not very often. Great, so funny. And at number 9, I picked a track that I think many people would probably put in their top 3 or 4, or maybe even their most favorite Smiths song. But I put it at 9. Again, it's a B-side. It appears in a number of places. And I just show this because it appears on the Pretty in Pink soundtrack. Please, please, please let me get what I want. Last song on side 2. And it's only 1 minute and 50 seconds long. And I think when the Smiths brought it to the record company, they said, well, where's the rest of it? The Dream Academy covered this and made it at least twice as long, I think, or almost twice as long. It's a very pleasant song, and I think if you listen to it casually, you might not get the full meaning, but it's really about him wanting to get what he wants, because he's had such bad luck. The luck I've had, he sings, would make a good man turn bad. For once in my life, let me get what I want. Lord knows it would be the first time. So he hasn't had a dream in a long time, that kind of thing. So it's, again, very Morrissey and very short. In fact, maybe it could be a bit longer, but I think it actually works, and I think it's a pretty good song. So that's up to number 9. So I have 8 left, and again, sequencing these is very difficult. So the top 8 could be changed around at any point, but that's where I have them. So one more video, but thanks again for watching.